Maharaj's sannyas ceremony, and somebody had donated for the prasadam. And I was sharing with that devotee that we have made a special arrangement for VIP prasadam, you please come and take prasadam there. And this devotee said, no, I want to take with everybody. I want to experience what the prasadam taking is with all the crowd. So I said it can be risky. He says, no. We want to experience the bhav. So then anyway, the program began, and then during the last kirtan, I suddenly sensed that maybe something is going wrong. And so I came down, and someone said that the donor, he was in an agitated state, and he walked out of the temple. And I ran out, and I just caught the donor sitting in the car, about to leave. I looked at him and said, hey, what happened? And they said, well, we were in the line, and as soon as that prasadam line came to the door of the prasadam hall, as we were about to enter the prasadam hall, the door closed. And we requested the in charge there, Hare Baba, our train is in 1 hour, please allow us to take prasadam. He says, no, we are under orders that we will open the door and close the door at specific time. Now we will not open the door for another 20 minutes. So he said, who gave the order? He said, Gauranga Prabhu. And then he got agitated, and the wife got even more agitated, and the stage walked out. So I requested them, Baba, there was a mistake, please come. I already warned you, go in the area which was designated for you. So I brought them there, they started honoring some prasadam. I went up, and the program was over, Radhanath Maharaj was coming out. I requested him, can you give some gifts to some donors? I didn't tell him the background. So he came down, and then he gave these 2 photo frames to these devotees who were the donors. And the lady was in ecstasy after receiving this from Maharaj. And she looked at me and said, now I know why this happened. This was simply so that we can get Maharaj association. Thank you very much. So everything changed. So I was very happy, at least they are happy. So on the way out, I said, okay, I will bring your shoes for you. So I took the token, went to the shoe stall and gave the token. They gave some shoes. I showed it to the donor. They said, this is not my shoes. So then I went and brought another pair of shoes. He said, this is also not my pair. So I realized, this din Bhagavan dete hain chappar bhaad ke. So for at least 10 to 15 minutes, we were struggling to get the right pair of shoes. Then finally, we got the right pair of shoes. And that day, nothing worked as per plan. And then when things don't go as per plan, we feel discouraged. So not only we lose the ultimate, fruit of what we were planning for, but the bigger loss is in the enthusiasm and the desire to continue striving. And that's where Brahmaji is revealing here in the 6th canto. As the demigods are feeling morose after being defeated by the demons, he encourages them to continue the fight. And then on the instruction of Brahmaji, the demigods approach Lord Vishnu. And then ultimately, Vritrasura, beautiful prayers and everything happens. Again, in Canto 7, from where does Hiranyakashipu get all his powers? Brahmaji. He is in the center of every pastime all through the Bhagavatam. And then when Narsingadev kills Hiranyakashipu, Narsingadev looks at Brahmaji and says, please do not give these kind of benedictions. You have put me in a lot of trouble. And in fact, when Narsingadev had killed Hiranyakashipu and Narsingadev was roaring loudly, and then he pushed Hiranyakashipu's dead body aside, and Narsingadev goes and sits on the throne of Hiranyakashipu. And the Acharyas explain, why does Narsingadev go and sit on the throne of Hiranyakashipu? Because ultimately Narsingadev knows that Hiranyakashipu is this, and Hiranyaks are nothing but Jay and Vijay. So therefore they have offered this throne, and if I accept it, then they will also be benefited. So he sits there, and then he is screaming loudly, killing all the other demoniac associates of Hiranyakashipu. And finally, when practically all the demons are killed, then Lord Nrsimhadev starts looking up in all directions and started staring at the demigods. Then the demigods start trembling, and they start requesting each other, please you go and pacify Lord Nrsimhadev. None of them are ready. They look at Lakshmi Devi. Lakshmi Devi says, I have never seen my husband in this such a state. I cannot go. They turn to Brahmaji saying that, Brahmaji, you gave the benedictions. You should go. And Brahmaji looks at Prahlad Maharaj and says, Prahlad, it was your father who did all this which angered Nrsimhadev so much. You must go and offer prayers. So finally Prahlad Maharaj goes and offers prayers to Lord Nrsimhadev on Brahmaji's request. Then in the 8th canto it is Brahmaji who is giving direction to the demigods. And when Bali Maharaj has practically sacrificed his entire universe, and with the 2 steps the Lord has conquered over the universe, and the Lord is looking, where should I keep my 3rd step? Finally, the Lord is offered that privilege by Bali Maharaj, saying that please place your feet on my head. So Bali Maharaj is willing to sacrifice his entire existence. And then he looks at Lord Vamandev and he says, Pumsam shlagya tamam manye dandam arhatamarpitam yam namata pita bhrata surdascha. He says, my dear Lord, there are people in history who have punished their dependents, but nobody has punished their dependent the way you have punished me. You are not just Supreme Personality of Godhead, you are the Supreme Personality of punishment. But your punishment is absolute, it is of benefit. And when Brahmaji hears this, Brahmaji looks at Lord Vamandev and he says, in Shastras you say, if you want to please me, offer me a little bit of water, little bit of fruit, little bit of leaf. This devotee has offered whole universe. Still you want more? Is there not a contradiction between what you have spoken in Shastra and what I am seeing right in front of me? So Brahmaji becomes Bali Maharaj's advocate, praying to the Lord. And so then in response to that, Lord Vishnu explains why he did this to Bali Maharaj. Because he wanted to demonstrate that atheism should be extinguished. Sense gratification is not the goal of human form of life. Economic development is not the goal, because nobody can imagine making money like Bali Maharaj, but in one moment all of it can be taken away. And then I wanted to demonstrate that the real pleasing quality for me is humility. And therefore I wanted to demonstrate how much devotees can tolerate. And I also wanted to demonstrate that once someone has sacrificed something for Krishna, he does not lose anything. He only gains. And therefore, although Bali Maharaj offered everything, I ultimately became his doorkeeper. So then again, we find that the Lord in the 9th canto, in the Brihaspati and Soma conflict, when Soma steals the wife of Brihaspati, and at that time Brahmaji intervenes and resolves that conflict. And finally, in the 10th canto, Vikhana Sarthito Vishwaguptaye Sakha Udevan Sarvatam Pule. Because of Brahmaji's prayer, Krishna appears. It is in response to Brahmaji's prayers, and that is what the gopis are praying. Brahmantat upadaryasta sahadeva sahitraha jagama satri nayana stiram kshira payonidhe. So when the demigods are in difficulty, the Mother Earth is in difficulty, she approaches Brahmaji And Mother Earth tells Brahmaji, please save me, please protect me. Now Brahmaji is extremely powerful, extremely strong. When Mother Earth is praying to Brahmaji, please help me, Brahmaji could have said, okay, let me try. But one of the powers of Brahmaji was he knew the limits of his power. And to know the limits of one's own power is a very important quality for a devotee to have. And therefore Brahmaji did not take upon himself the responsibility of resolving Mother Earth's issues. He said, no, I cannot resolve this issue. We will have to go to Lord Vishnu. And so Brahmaji collected all the demigods, and along with the 33 crore demigods and along with Lord Shiva, Jagamasa 3 Nayanas. So the Acharyas ask, why Brahmaji did not go alone? Why did he go along with 33 crore demigods? Because he thought, the Lord is so busy enjoying his pastimes, he may refuse to come just on one person's petition. But if 330 million people go and raise a dharna, he has to come. And therefore, when people come together, an individual person may offer a prayer, the Lord may or may not accept. But when all of us come together and offer a prayer, then the Lord sees, yes, there are very, very sincere people in this assembly who are praying. And that is the advantage of Sankirtan. That our disqualifications as an individual are compensated by others' qualification. And therefore when we come together and chant the holy names, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Then this chanting of the holy names attracts the Lord, because the Lord sees everybody is glorifying me and offering prayer to me. And that is the power of Sankirtan. I was, preaching to one young boy about chanting, and he was arguing with me that you are telling me you should chant 16 rounds, this, that. But I have read the Gita. In Gita, nowhere Krishna says chant 16 rounds. So I said in Gita, Krishna says, Satatam Kirtayanto Ma. Gita standard is chant 24 hours. Prabhupada realized you cannot chant 24 hours, so Prabhupada said 16 rounds, 2 hours. Which one you prefer? And he said, Prabhupada ki jai. Because unless we have extraordinary taste, it is impossible to chant for long periods of time. And therefore when we come together and chant the holy names, the Lord takes notice. And that's how Brahmaji's prayer, along with the demigods, and he takes Lord Shiva also. Why he takes Lord Shiva? Because all of them are praying, please my dear Lord, come and kill Kamsa and the demons. And the Lord may say, I am not interested. I am too busy. And so at that point, Brahmaji wanted to point to Lord Shiva and say, my dear Lord, if you are not coming, please instruct this Shiva to open his third eye now, so the purpose of destruction can be accomplished via him. So Jagamasa 3 Nayanas. So the 3-eyed Shiva also was there when everybody was praying. And so thanks to Brahmaji's prayer, Lord appears. And the Lord appears in the jailhouse of Kamsa. And after appearing, then Krishna begins performing his pastimes here in Brajbhumi, Vrindavan. So therefore, this is a very important point to realize, that Brahmaji is extremely humble, extremely tolerant, extremely mature, extremely powerful. Brahmaji knows his limits. It is not that he is not aware of his limits. And sometimes we get into trouble when we try to solve some problem which is beyond our capacity. Because we think, because I could do this and this and this and this, so therefore I can do that also. So Brahmaji did not get into that trap. Then I tell this story, I was on a flight and to London, and then I was sitting and chanting japa. One old lady sitting behind me, she came up to me and started, kind of chastising me. That Swamiji, your chanting is too loud. Chant your mantra quietly. So I said, okay, fine. And then after some time, they started distributing liquor in the flight. And one guy sitting, was flying international first time. He just asked a question to the steward, how much I have to pay for this liquor? And the steward said, free. So he heard the word free and he went out of control. And he drank so much that he was shouting and screaming. And I was thinking, this is international flight or ST bus? And then at some point, this lady again gets up, comes up to me and says, Swamiji, please control him with your mantra. And I looked at her and said, if I am able to control my own mind with this mantra, it will be a big exercise. So we should realize what are the limits of what we can potentially do. And if we do not realize those limits and we overestimate our own abilities, we will get into trouble. So therefore Brahmaji was very sober, very humble, very powerful, very tolerant. But still, Krishna wanted to extol the glories of Vrindavan. And how in Vrindavan all the demigods are dependent on him. So he performs this pastime of Vimohan Leela. And so Brahmaji, at this particular point of time when he sees the beautiful celebrations happening, glorifying Krishna, after the killing of Aghasur, he gets bewildered and he steals the calves and the cows of Krishna. So when Krishna sees this, that all of his cowherd boys are in anxiety. So this is a beautiful point. Uche Krishnosya bhibhayam mitrani iva ihanyashe vatsako aham. All of those boys are in bewilderment. What will happen now to the calves and the cows? And Krishna looks at them and says, don't worry. You sit here and continue eating the prasadam which you have brought from your home. I will go and get those calves. So go refers to the cows. Go also means senses. So Krishna is giving a message to his cowherd boys that while practicing Krishna consciousness, even if your senses deviate and your senses start grazing in different directions, all you have to do is you have to make sure that you keep Krishna in the center. Do not become discouraged and leave Krishna consciousness. You may go through struggles, but continue keeping Krishna in the center. Krishna says it is my responsibility to go and bring those wandering cows and calves, the wandered senses back. So therefore, we should not deliberately do that to give Krishna seva. But Krishna is making a point that yes, I am taking the ownership of my devotees' anxieties. If the devotees depend upon me, then I take the responsibility to protect them. Then Brahmaji at this point of time steals the cows. And here we find a very important principle. The Bhagavatam is revealing even someone who is an extremely qualified devotee, very powerful, as we discussed from the first 9 cantos in the first chapter of the 10th canto about Brahma's qualification. So there is no doubting Brahmaji's qualification. But in spite of being extremely qualified, the conditioned soul, even in the liberated state, ultimately being a Jivatma, may have a tendency of becoming bewildered. So therefore, Jiva Goswami Pad explains that in the onward march of our devotional service, every sadhaka experiences 5 doubts. First, he has doubt about Shastra, which Shastra to follow. And although we are from India, and although we have been exposed to Bhagavad Gita, in terms of knowing about the Gita, we did not start studying the Gita till we actually came in contact with Krishna Conscious Society. Is it not? I was, in the airport in Mumbai, and somebody suddenly started shouting at me, Swamiji, Swamiji, ruko, ruko. I stopped and I turned back, and there was this old gentleman who came near me and he said, Gita hai kya? I said, yeah, I have Gita but not here in the temple. He said, now I think I am at a stage in life where I should start studying Gita. I said, okay, what do you do? He said, I am a CA. I said, oh, chartered accountant? He said, no, complete aram. And so I thought, this is the general conception of people. When we should start studying the Gita? When every other responsibility is over? No. Here, the first doubt which every conditioned soul gets is it worth studying Shastra? Second doubt, we get doubt about the goal. Third is there are doubts regarding the process itself, the process of bhakti. We start chanting the holy names and we think, now I am chanting, Adav Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha I got, Bhajana Kriya I have begun, Anartha Nivritti is going on. Maybe in 3-4 years I will get to Nishtha, and then another 4 or 5 years I will come to Asakti, then maybe another 15 years Bhav, and in 20 years Prem is